Here, this permanent memorial to my uncle. Um, it's, I suppose, 1918, since there was a big drought here. And that was when the two young men in the family were detained in Mountjoy. And a mehel of over 100 men came to plant my grandfather's crops. They did it in double quick time. Uncle Paddy was born in the little house that stood just here, as were we all. It was the 2001 census says it had two rooms and 3 windows to the front. All that remained was just that gable wall there and the old barn. The rest of it was taken away over the years, and in fact a lot of the stones are actually used in this wall here. Now, my Uncle Paddy's story is very well known, thanks in no small part to me. But I'd like to remember the rest of the family at this time, not taking away from what he has done and so on. The two youngest of the family, my Aunt Maggie, Mikey's mother, the mother of the Degnans, and Uncle Joe were teenagers at the time. Aunt Lena, who was mother of Corey Fitzpatrick, she was just out of her teens. And you can imagine how traumatic it was for them when the house was turned over numerous times by the Tans and so on, especially for the girls. My Aunt Annie was a nurse, a student nurse in Dublin in the Mater at the time, and she was my uncle's conduit to the outside world when he was in Kilmainham, and indeed when he was closer to her in Mountjoy. But the one that I really feel for was Uncle Jim, who spent the last hours with his brother in the condemned cell, and he was only 26 years old at the time. He moved out from there and stood outside with a huge crowd that had come to pray that the executions wouldn't happen. He'd have seen the notice pinned to the door announcing the executions, and he asked for the body for burial afterwards. Within 2 years, he himself would have had at least 2 brushes with death. Once when he was 39 days on hunger strike. My father was already in prison in Boyle at the time that of the execution. On the 13th, excuse me, on the 14th, he was moved from Boyle to Athlone. And as he said many years later, I feared the worst. He was moved on from Athlone to the Curragh, and he read in the newspapers of the death of his brother, the execution of his brother, because his letter to his parents from there on the Wednesday started with, "I see the worst has happened." My grandparents were quite old at the time. My grandfather was 78. It's easy for me to estimate his age because he was born exactly 100 years before me. So can you imagine getting the letter that they got from their son and reading that letter here in this little house? They were amazing people, an amazing family. And our yeshje guraw anamaka jilish galea. Okay.
Okay, look this session.
Bad side, she was